Okay. What's up, guys? Four Corners, the number one quarterly Nuggets podcast in the universe, is back. I am your host, Ray. You can find me online at Rayvon Hagshaw. I'm joined tonight by Peter, Bucket since '88. What's going on? How you feeling?
What's up, Ray? I'm good. The internet has been buzzing. It's been a long time since we've been here, and I just wanted to squash all the rumors real quick. Me and Ray, we have not been beefing. We actually have just been busy with life, and as we've mentioned once or twice before, we don't get paid to do this, so you know, it's the return of the gangsters, Andre and Big Boy. We're like outcasts. We only drop every once in a while, but you know, we're still good, even though people like to think that we're beefing. And sometimes you gotta switch things up. And Outcast was going down for a little bit, and then a little after 2000, they dropped the whole world, and they brought in a new guy, Killer Mike, and he completely killed it on their song, The Whole World. So with that, we have some big news to announce. Outcast is expanding. Four Corners. Now we have CT. Welcome.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me. Great to be back before the playoffs. Was that
Yeah,
your intro, Peter?
Sure was.
I think I might be too young for the reference.
he probably is. It's
Mm,
it's it's a little too much. It's fine though. It's fine though. I understood. I understand.
damn.
I'm here for you, bro. But the diss record is coming though. Just so you know, and you have a week to respond. Okay, so let's talk.
Off to a great start.
Okay, yeah. Let's talk Nuggets. Peter, I know you've been welcome to fatherhood for one. Shout out to you for that.
Thank you.
While in the kind of space since we've been gone, while we're making references, how have you felt just in this sort of closing chapters of the Nugget season? As far as just the vibes. Yeah, I'll start there.
Yeah, I mean, I think mostly good. Once the All-Star break was over, my son was actually born right in the middle of the All-Star break, which was lucky timing for me. Then the Nuggets proceeded to, get six straight victories, I think. Then they had one tough loss and won like five more. I think they won 11 out of 12 out of the break, so they hit the gas hard. Looked like they were rounding into form. Um, and then they really only had a couple of tough losses the whole rest of the year. The crazy Dallas game where Kyrie hit the floater, and then just the inexplicable loss to the Spurs. That one really stung. But the Nuggets bounced back on Sunday at least to clinch the two seed, which was it was good. I think now you got home court for at least the first couple rounds. If somebody can knock out OKC, you got home court in the West Finals as well. All things considered, Nuggets are going into the playoffs healthy. If you would have given me that option beginning of the season, I would have said, "Great, take it, let's do it." I know you and I had talked previously about like kind of our expectations for the year, and you have, even though I consider you a really positive guy, Ray, you like have higher expectations for the Nuggets. You said
Can
you think
I?
this team can win 70 games. They did not win 70 games. They won 57. Tied for first in the
Mm,
West, one short of the franchise record. But Jamal Murray missed 23 games this year. So
I think it was
unfortunately
more
for
than that.
him, yeah, if Jamal would have been healthy, maybe they get to 58, 59, 60. But all things considered, this team is focused on the playoffs, and I'm pretty happy with the way things went.
that's fair. CT, on a scale of 1 to 10, how out of pocket was I for believing in the Nuggets could win 70 games?
I mean, coming off the championship, you have to have some sort of hope. You know what I mean? After the great win in the finals, but listen, 16-4 coming off that, returning the whole starting five. I think it was maybe you overshot it a bit, but I think they were. If Murray, like Peter said, if Murray
A little bit.
if Murray played, even if Murray played 10 more games, right? I think the Nuggets would have easily had the 1 seed and had the franchise record for wins. So, because the Nuggets they're more easily able to withstand, uh, like anyone else but Murray and Jokic being out. So, say like if Mike was out or AG or KCP, they would have had more able bodies to fill in. But since Murray was out and you have Reggie Jackson as the backup who had to start, Nuggets are in flux basically because they don't have much depth. So, um, overall, I thought it was a pretty good regular season. All things considered, with Murray missing the games he did, the bench went a little more younger this year as well. Um, not as many veterans. So, all things considered, I thought it was a successful regular season. But that Spurs game was a killer. Could have had the 1 seed, but what could you do?
It is a little disappointing. I think, it's always tough when the team is so talented and you can win those types of games, but to just lose it in a just sort of unfocused fashion. I'm sure you can relate to that as a coach that, you want to show up to every game playing 100% no matter how much talent you do or don't have. So it's always kind of a bummer in that way. But to your point about that kind of that fit, I do feel like the Nuggets are really perfectly they fit together in a way that's almost too perfect to suffer a lot of losses, particularly to your point at point guard and center, where they don't really have another Jamal Murray stand-in. They don't have another Jokic stand-in. Even Michael Porter and Aaron Gordon, I think, if Mike is out, AG can't instantly become a 45% shooter. If AG is out, Mike can't instantly gain all the weight that he needs to. So, I think it's tough in that way, but I also think it's what makes them so good is that they don't have that redundancy that you might see on like a Clippers or some other teams where they can step on each other's toes a little bit. But Peter, what are your thoughts about the identity of this team now that the regular season has come to a close?
Yeah, I mean, that's actually something I was thinking about as I was leaving the game tonight. By the way, I just came back from Pelicans Lakers. Um, I was thinking like the NBA has so much talent now that yes, the most talented teams in the league are more talented than the bottom teams, but the top and the like just below the top aren't that far apart in talent, in my opinion. I think the Pelicans are super talented, but they struggle with their identity and with their chemistry. And I don't know if there's a team in the league that has a better, chemistry and hierarchy than the Nuggets. If you want to give me the Celtics, that's fine for the regular season. But we know that when it comes to crunch time, that they don't necessarily run the best offense. Whereas like every single person in the Nuggets organization knows that it's going to be the Murray and Jokic pick and roll 2-man game. So I think the identity is the same as it was last year. And that formula worked. So, a very interesting comment that I've brought up before that, I heard last year, they were asking David Robinson, what did he think about the Nuggets? Could they win it? And he was like, they have the talent, but do they have the belief? And it was like so fascinating to me because I was like, really? Like all the players are confident. Like I would think they did. But now I kind of get it because the Nuggets were able to hit, they get through the adversity in the Sun series. They get through a little bit of adversity in the Lakers series. I mean, even though it was a sweep, there were some tough games and there was some adversity in the finals, losing the game at home. And now after being the champion, I think it just builds your confidence even more that you can get the job done. So I think the Nuggets in the Jokic era have pretty much always done a pretty good job of bouncing back after a loss. They don't like get too down on themselves. But I think now more than ever, they like understand that, the season is long and, you might go in a funk, but we still kind of know what our bread and butter is. There weren't too many times where we saw them like play out of character. They had stretches where they played poorly, but I like the fact that we didn't really see them play out of character.
Yeah. No, I do think they've really honed in on who they are as individuals and as a team. CT, I kind of want to throw it to you as far as what do you notice between last year and this year, having that championship experience, and with like the additions and losses that they've had, where do you feel like the identity of the team is the same, and where do you feel like the identity of the team is different?
That's a good question. I think it's basically the same just because the starters are attacked again. You're not really getting much difference, I think, even though I think Murray overall is a better player, especially, seeing him in the regular season, just more aggressive, looking for a shot. Usually in regular season games in years past, you'd see him like take his foot off the gas and he wouldn't really care as much. Then he gets to the playoffs and he's, the playoff performer we all know that he is. I think my MPJ is a better player as well. Not necessarily like better from like he's making this kind of leap, but I do think he's better within his role of being a high level starter on the team. Better defensively, more aggressive offensively when he gets the opportunities to. I just don't think he's just like years past, he would just kind of just wait for his turn. Now it's like he's looking for the ball when Murray's off the court and him and Jokic are trying to kind of buoy the lineups out there, which is something that's been great to see as well. So yeah, I think the main question is just the bench going to the playoffs. What are we going to get? Because Bruce last year was the sixth man, and you had Jeff as a seventh guy as well, and he was playable enough to where he wasn't tanking you until the finals, basically until like game 5. He basically was unplayable at the end. But what are we going to get from Reggie Jackson? Is he going to be steady? Is he going to be, you know, is he going to be a defensive liability? That's my question with Reggie. With Christian Brown, is he going to be basically the sixth guy who you can rely upon? I think he's going to be. But again, it's up in the air because he's only a second-year player. And then, finally with Watson, is he going to be ready for the moment? He didn't play last year in the playoffs at all, so I'm not really sure. But seeing him in the regular season, I think he kind of has that belief in himself and ability. But teams are just going to leave him wide open from 3, so we have to see what's going to happen with that. But like I said, the starters are good enough where I just think that they kind of have it. Despite even if the bench tanks really badly, I just think the Nuggets have the best starting 5 in the league where it might not end up ultimately mattering.
I'm hoping it doesn't. In an ideal world, it doesn't for sure. But before we get too much into talking about the playoffs, I want to touch on the regular season just a little bit more. But in like I'll start with this, Peter. Outside of the Nuggets, what would you say was the biggest surprise for you this season?
Biggest surprise in the whole NBA?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who? I actually think even though they're the 3 seed, I think I have to go with the Bucks. Like I thought the Bucks were going to be neck and neck with the Celtics, and I think the consensus is that they're just like going to flame out. A lot of people are picking the Pacers to beat them. It wouldn't shock me if the Pacers beat them. And I think that alone tells you like kind of how bad things are there. Obviously Giannis is hurt now, but the Dame fit has just not been great. He's
lost.
I was willing to give him like the first half of the season to get acclimated, but I think it's kind of proven that like as good as Giannis is, he's not the easiest guy to play with, I think what's interesting about style of plays is you hear of guys like Kevin Durant and Paul George. I always hear like, oh, they're the most malleable superstar, meaning like you could put them on the team and they're going to be good. They're going to make you better. They're going to help you and they can like fit in with anybody. That's not something you would ever say about Giannis, right? Because Giannis can't shoot. I don't know if you guys saw this on Twitter the other day, but somebody posted like, he's literally the worst jump shooter in the league. And don't get me wrong, he's a great player. But when your best player can't shoot, it limits things. So adding Dame helped them. We talked about it right before the year started, right? Because I was saying I wasn't going to be shocked if like they got worse, but I still thought they were going to be really good. I was like, they're going to be worse defensively, better offensively, and that's kind of what played out. But like they fired their coach. Middleton has just unfortunately never really been able to get going. He's had some good games. Brook Lopez is a year older. He's fine. Malik Beasley has had a good year for them, but he's still a bad defender. And like everybody said, like, what are you guys doing? How can he be like your starting two guard? The most hilarious thing is they're in that Nurkic Ayton trade with the Suns, and Grayson Allen ends up going to Phoenix. He's been amazing for Phoenix. They could really use Grayson Allen in Milwaukee. So, because Connaughton's kind of gone downhill, Crowder's kind of over the hill. They just lack depth, and that team is like, I don't know, man. That could be an ugly situation this summer if they flame out, because who knows if either Dame wants out, if Giannis wants out, if they both want out, or if they're like, let's make some tweaks, let's figure this out. But that, to me, that's the biggest surprise. I don't know what you guys got.
CT, you mentioned earlier, Dame, his relationship between him and being washed is becoming closer and closer over time.
Nah, that's too far.
I think
it's getting closer. It's getting closer. I'm not going to say he's washed. It's getting closer. Well,
wow.
This is kind of what I want to get to. When you think about some of the players in the league who are in their twilight of their careers, I'm thinking about like guys like LeBron, guys like Damian Lillard. Who do you think is handling that transition? Who would you say is handling that transition the best, and who is handling that transition not so well? Like who comes to mind?
I just think with Dame, he's never been that guy. I mean, he's never been a number one guy, and it's not really hating on Dame. It's just like we saw in the playoffs against Jokic had MPJ on a bad back, and Murray wasn't even there, and he was going against Facu Campazzo and Austin Rivers, and he lost in 6 games. I mean, it's the one year he really got the furthest was when the Nuggets I think they were injured that year, where they got to play the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. And I mean, now he's a number 2 guy, and we'll see how he does.
They were just young.
Yeah, the Nuggets were just young, especially too with McCollum now. Like, have you seen what he's done in the play-in games over the past 3 years? I just saw his stats where like he was like, I don't even know. He's just shooting way below
atrocious today.
Yeah.
He had 5 points in the first half, 4 points in the second half.
Yeah. So I just think with Dame, it's just like you said before, I think it was a great point. It's just Giannis is not a floor raiser like a Jokic, right? Even an Embiid, where it's like he's not really a great passer or anything, but his scoring can uplift others. See how Maxey has done this year, and it's just I just never thought that Giannis was like that big of a floor raiser. And again, for his title year that he had, look at all the injuries that were in the Eastern Conference that they had that year. Look at the West too, how the Suns got to the finals too.
Yeah, it's a weird year.
Yeah.
Do you think?
I mean, probably the superstar agent the most graceful. I mean, LeBron for sure. I mean, have to give it to him that he's 39 years old and he's still producing like he is. Even KD at this point too. I'm not sure how good the Suns are ultimately, but he's been great.
I think Curry too.
But his team is just atrocious.
Yeah,
that's fair.
That's true.
Yeah, I haven't checked in on how they're doing since we started, but
down 4.
So talking about superstars, how about Luka? I mean, as a guy, when we're talking about how easy is it to integrate yourself into a team that has a player on that team, what do you think of Luka Doncic as, obviously he's at an MVP caliber season, but I've heard a lot of people say that the way he plays and his specific weaknesses and limitations, things, some of them defensive, some of them how he plays off ball, how does that affect what the Mavericks and their ceiling can be as a team?
Yeah, I think Luka is so good now that basically the way you have to beat the Mavericks is like you want a big body wing that can at least make it tough on him. He's still going to get his points, but you really have to have a team that has like a high octane offense and try to outscore the Mavs, because I just think Luka is so good that he's kind of like solved the game. You have to do your best to kind of just make sure you take away their easy baskets, right? Try to take away like easy lobs and hopefully don't give up too many wide open threes. The Mavs are going to score though, because they got Kyrie Irving as a release valve. How many better, number 2 like ball handling scorers do you have on teams? So I think the Mavs are going to score, and you kind of basically got to like get, like you said, make Luca play defense and beat them up on the glass and try to, maybe get out and run on them and beat them at the other end. But as we know, the slow it down style usually wins in the playoffs. So, you know, I know we're not like getting into picks yet, but like I would favor them to beat the Clippers in the first round. They got the best player in the series.
That's fair. That's fair. And I guess I had one more question before we do get into playoff picks and that sort of thing. Most years, there's enough people saying the regular season is too long. Do you guys feel like the regular season was this too long? Is this too much regular season?
Maybe toward the end a little bit. I enjoy the regular season though. I know a lot of people are just not really about it, but I always like the matchup, especially when the Nuggets come out east. It's good to see them play against the Knicks at the Garden, especially even though it's like a game that doesn't ultimately matter. But I just think it's kind of cool. I don't know. I think it's probably just right. Like I don't know
Yeah.
if they would like go less than 82 unless they go like 75 or something like that, but I'm not really sure.
Ray, I have to give you like a out of left field take on this one here, and I'm sure CT
Okay.
will appreciate this. I actually kind of like the fact that the NBA chills out in March because I love March Madness. So I'm
Yeah,
still
yeah.
Hmm.
watching basketball, but we know that there's not that many important NBA games, right? Like the good teams have already separated themselves to be like, all right, we're going to be a top four seed. The teams in the middle to the bottom are fighting for the play-in, and then you can take that 2 to 3 week break to watch, the college prospects and the good college teams. And then like if there's a big NBA game, you can float in, float out. But if that part of the season gets monotonous to you, I highly suggest checking in on the college game because those games are fun. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I just like it because it's a variety, it's different. You get to see some different things.
Yeah, I think that's
Best
pretty valid.
postseason in sports.
Yep.
It is exciting. I'm not gonna lie. It's hard to, even if you don't know much. It's one of those things where even if you don't much, even about basketball, period, men's, especially women's basketball this year, I
Yes.
think you
Women's
can
is great this
jump
year.
in.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you can jump into it and have a great time on a night in, night in and night out basis. So I think
Hmm.
that's been fun. Um, I mean, it is something I think about a lot as far as like the length of the season, but I'm kind of with you guys in the sense that I'm pretty happy with it. At the same time, I do wish there was more respect for regular season. I don't want to say success because sometimes success isn't the same thing as putting a good product on the floor. If that
Uh-huh.
makes sense, you can be a really talented team, but if people see, oh, this person they sat 30 games because or maybe teams aren't always giving the best effort. I think that kind of hurts the
Well,
league.
but Ray, I have to cut you off for a sec here. Don't you think the new
Hmm.
rule helped with that? They made the 65 game limit for awards. I feel like we had less guys sitting out this year than years past.
Yeah, I think we're working towards that.
Yeah.
Where I kind of feel like for the last 20-25 years, this is where I feel like there's like a flow from top to like where we are. Um, People on TV, talking heads, not too much unlike ourselves, are saying, okay, well, the regular season doesn't matter. The playoffs are what matters. Rings are what matters. Oh, if you want to be top 10, well, Kobe has this many rings. Jordan has this many rings. If you want to be good, you want
Your
to be
favorite
compared.
combos.
Yes.
I
And I
think the
think that,
Celtics perfect kind of description for that this year, right? Best regular season in the league. Now we
and
kind
no
of
one cares.
mix it up to see. Yeah, we'll
No
Yeah,
see
one
now if it
until you
cares.
translates to the
really do
playoffs.
it.
The Celtics could like go 12-0 in the East, make it to game 7 of the finals, lose a heartbreaker, and their fans will be like furious at the coach and the team.
Yeah, because I feel like if you we've been saying this for 20-25 years now, eventually everybody you say it long enough, people accept that. And I think fans start to accept it. And I think once the fans start to accept that, I think the players also start to reflect those same sentiments. And I think that's how you kind of get some of the more lackluster games. You get a Nuggets team, and this happens with every team. I don't want to make it seem like the Nuggets are special in this way, but you get those type of moments where you lose to the Spurs when you really could use that game, but you're just kind of like, there's UFC on, and it doesn't
See,
really
now you
matter.
get
And
me.
yeah,
Exactly.
and so I'm happy. I'm
Now you're
happy
speaking my
with
language.
the threshold that they've applied for awards, and I think also for flattening the odds. I think at the bottom of the league, I kind of feel like I'd like to see some incentive at the top. Like I wish the one seed was worth more somehow. I'm still thinking over how that might work, but
Yeah.
I'd like to see some type of incentive for teams that are in that like top four to be like, hey, I'd really like to be one, and that means something to me, not just
Right.
because there should be I think culturally and maybe
Mhm.
practically something valuable there. That would be nice. Because then I think we would see the last week of the season be a little bit sharper from a basketball perspective, rather than everybody kind of like, okay, I've got my seed, I'm good. But that's about it. Outside of that, I'm really happy with where the league is, and I am ready to get to the playoffs, though. That would be nice. So let's do it. I mean,
Wait,
as far
can I
as
talk about one quick Nuggets storyline before we get to
yeah,
the playoffs? So obviously we brought back
sure.
the entire starting five, so it's like very familiar. I guess the big storyline going into the year was the young guys, right? CB, P. Watt, Zeke Naji to an extent. I want to focus on Watson
Hmm.
because I think that he is. I mean, I know we're like Nuggets fans here, but no exaggeration. He's one of the most amazing defensive players I've ever seen. Like the plays he makes. I'm not saying consistently yet. He's not like I'm not gonna say he's like Scottie Pippen level. I'm just like he has games where he just like completely erases people. And he was so good in the Minnesota game the other day, and I think he had like 6 blocks.
Mhm.
Um, and it was great to hear him talk after the game about his whole season and how he really appreciated like Malone trusting him and like being patient with him. And it's so refreshing to hear a young man talk about like his relationship with his coach and his teammates, because what it told me, the most important thing about Payne Watson is that he's coachable, right? How many guys do we see come in the league like, I've done this at this level, I'm so good, I'm going to do it my way. And so often we see those young guys, they get a lot of run on bad teams, and that's when they get to like kind of shape themselves into like what player they're going to be. If they're like a leading scorer, leading assist man, rebounder, whatever it is, it's like not high stakes basketball. What he's doing to like have your first minutes be on a team that's the defending champion that's trying to win games and be effective is super, super hard. So I just commend him for like buying in from day one and realizing like, hey, you were drafted to do this and to fill this role, right? And I'm not saying I'm giving him like an A+ on the season or anything. It was definitely, bright spots and bad games. But he always seemed to have like an understanding of like he's there to play a role and to help the Nuggets more than he is like, I gotta like make my stamp on the league. Because I think if you guys think back to like when he was drafted, just like the amount that he was on social media and like interacting with like bigger names, like I guess he's friends with KD and with Paul George, we just kind of got the thought that like maybe that's how he views himself, right? And we don't really know, but the actions have shown that he really cares about doing the right thing for the team. And I've just really appreciated that about the way I've really appreciated his approach is what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
People hated that draft. If you go back to that draft, a lot of Nuggets fans were not
Oh
happy,
yeah.
especially I was, obviously I do a lot of draft work, but even for them, like I was a big Christian Brown guy that they should take him, and people were like they shouldn't take him, and why should they do that and
Love the pick.
whatever. And it's like I think for now, we can't definitively say it's a win yet because we haven't seen them play in
Right.
the play. Watson at least play in the playoffs. I did
Yeah.
tweet after the finals last year though that Boots, Calvin Boots, kind of philosophy, especially after the finals last year, it worked. Christian Brown dropped 15 points in a road finals game to help the Nuggets win a championship. So I mean, his part of his plan already worked. Now that
Yeah.
he's kind of doubling down on it with Peyton and CB, and then we'll see if Strawther next year kind of emerges as well. I mean, it was kind of up and down year for him, but I
Showed
mean,
some flashes.
yeah, he showed some flash, and it's like how many young guys can you really add to the equation for it to make sense? And
Right.
I kind of felt like he was kind of in like an impossible situation. Um, but we'll see in the playoffs now. Like Peter said, like I think Watson, it's a big opportunity for him. I think it's a big opportunity for CB again as well. So his role is kind of elevated up the chain a little more
Yep.
now. But yeah, we'll have to see. Especially Watson though, I think it's going to be big for him to see if he can kind of not stay on the floor, but he has to do things like, especially the jump shot. Like he's going to have to
Yeah.
make shots, or else he's going to get
He's
played
gonna
off
be
the
open.
floor.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, I am really excited. I think about obviously both of those players, Peyton and Christian have done great work throughout the regular season. I think about the comparison between Peyton and another personal guy I liked, I guess, in
McDaniel's.
Bowl. No, no, not
Oh,
in the sense that like the 1-to-1. When you make these points of comparison of like guys who they went to college, they didn't play a lot, and you could take that in two ways. You could take that and say, well, you can take it in a sense of like hubris, or you can kind of humble yourself. And I think Peyton, chose the right way. You can take the relationships that you have with being in NBA circles from a young age, and having that access, and you can take it and think that you are also already in that air, or you can try and understand that you want to be there and you're looking at them and taking information from them and wisdom and saying that like, how do I be like them, how do I do what they do, how do I get where they're going? And I think Peyton in the same way has made the right choice in those situations, and at the same time, even though he has all that, has been patient enough with himself and with others, when because not everybody likes not everybody can handle the inconsistency of breaking into a Malone rotation. But I
Mhm.
think he's handled that in such a mature way that is it's really impressive from like just like a mental aspect. And when you add that to the amount of length and the athleticism and the ability to get to wherever he wants, like when he is, I'm not saying he has the best handle in the world, but I do think there's a lot to unravel in his game with his getting the ball off the catch, getting into the paint, collapsing defenses. I think he has that ability in him. The fact that he is working on his shot and trying to hone it in a way that's consistent and process oriented rather than results oriented, I think is really impressive. So I think the sky's the limits for him. I still think um, I think when I was saying future All Star, Peyton Watson in the beginning of the season, I was a little tongue in cheek, but now I really do feel like whether it's in Denver or somewhere else, I think he really has a bright future ahead of him. So we'll see if it pans out in this playoffs. But I mean, I love that man. I'll say it. Like it's gonna be great. I'm really excited for what we're about to see. Um, Outside of that, I mean, there's Reggie. We're talking about the bench basically. I I mean, I'm curious what you guys think of this. I feel like Reggie's gotten a bad rap. As much as I don't like I don't always love his play style. I don't always love his shot selection. His identity is what it is. When you're signing Reggie Jackson, it's hard to expect him to change. And ultimately, he's sixth on the team in minutes, which is kind of crazy to me. And I think for a guy on the minimum contract in his 30s, as someone who is about to turn 30, I'm feeling it. And I just have a lot of respect for the amount that he's been called upon this season. Um, So I don't know if you guys had any thoughts about what you're expecting from him this playoffs, but I kind of just wanted to give him a little shout out to say, look, I see you. It's not always been pretty, but I appreciate I appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that he's obviously trying. He he has a few games here and there. Sometimes it's rough, but I don't know. Maybe you guys can help me out if there's like a better scientific term for this. But I really do think like a lot of Nuggets fans don't like Reggie because if you look at our team, Jokic is not only one of the best players in the league and ever, he's one of the most efficient players ever. Guards are naturally always going to be less efficient. Reggie is an inefficient guard. So it's like this compounding comparison. Jokic comes out, Reggie goes in, starts throwing up bricks. It's like the gap is just like the Grand Canyon, right? So it's easy for fans to get mad at him because his mistakes are so loud. But the fact is, somebody has to shoot, and I just think that there's been plenty of times where he's actually like hit tough shots. Like that's a skill that not everybody has. And for being honest, if there's one like lack on the roster, it's just there's just not a lot of creators. So, you know, he the fact that we still won 57 games with Jamal Murray missing that much time, I think you have to give some credit to Reggie Jackson for that, right? Like the bottom could have fallen out, guys. I mean, the year that Jamal was completely out, they still won what, 46, 48 games, something like that. Like that just shows you how great Jokic is. But if you had Reggie Jackson on that team, maybe you win 50 games. Like I think I feel like people notice it more when he plays poorly and like are just quiet when he plays well because he does play well like enough.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I mean, numerically, so comping him maybe to Bruce Brown, for example, if I have it right, he actually has performed better from like a offensive rating, net rating perspective,
That's fascinating.
compared to Bruce Brown without Jokic, which is a big caveat, right? But
But
I
that's
mean,
important.
CT,
We need that.
yeah, I'm kind of curious what you think of that notion that when you don't have Jokic on the floor on a team that has always really struggled without Jokic, that while we do miss Bruce, and I miss Bruce, and I wish you were here, and we all wish you were here, um, that Reggie has outperformed him in that particular context.
I think with Reggie and the Bruce debate, I think Bruce his regular season impact was kind of overstated. He wasn't as good as people were saying in the regular season. Um, it's when in the playoffs where he really started to show himself as the valuable like pseudo like fifth starter. You know what I mean? At certain
Mhm.
points, I think with Reggie with Jamal going out as much as he did, I think Reggie was able to kind of um, help keep the Nuggets offense afloat at times when he was out. He was a good floor raiser for the regular season. Um, Again, my concerns with Reggie is strictly always been for the playoffs. Um, I think Reggie's going to play strictly with Jokic as well. I don't think Reggie plays a minute without Jokic in the playoffs. You see in Game One Saturday, I don't think he plays with the bench at all. I think it's going to be strictly Murray, Gordon, pick and roll with the bench. Sprinkle in one of Michael Porter and or KCP with the bench next to CB or Watson. I just don't think Malone trusts Reggie to play by himself without Jokic and or next to Murray. Those that's the lineup with Murray where it's not defensively against the Lakers that it's not going to happen. Um, so I mean I'm hopeful for Reggie, but I think defensively as well. Last year the Nuggets didn't have really any bad defenders in the rotation. Murray was like the weakest point, and teams tried to attack Mike, but he just got to a point where he was too tall and he kind of knew now because he had experience about what he was doing compared to like you go back to the bubble where he was way too inexperienced, and now teams can't really attack him. And Murray was like the quote unquote worst defender this last year, but even then Murray's pretty strong in the post, and teams couldn't really. It was a losing way to keep going at Murray repeatedly. So, and I think now with Reggie, he's the worst defender in the rotation. I think we could comfortably say that. Um, so I'm just curious, like if he plays 8 minutes a night, our team's really going to keep attacking him over and over and over again to the point where he's unplayable. I think it's a possibility.
Peter, do you think the rest is going to be meaningful for Reggie insofar as now he's going to have it? You know, you've got this week off or so. Where do you see maybe like the floor and ceiling of the Reggie Jackson experience, at least in round one against the Lakers?
I don't think Reggie expected to play this much this year. I think that was also something that is why he kind of looks tired toward the end of the regular season, because Murray missed so many games and like Reggie was not supposed to play that much. So I think that
No,
kind of
he's
factored
making.
in. Just wanted to
He's not.
interject there.
Yeah, he's making $5 million a year. Like, this is not the expectation you'd have for a player at that pay grade to be in a role that large, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, he played all 82 games, so props to him for being an Iron Man. But yeah, Ray, I mean, I'm optimistic. You know, I'm open to the rest helping and him playing better, but I don't expect him to turn into like, you know, prime Reggie Jackson or anything. I just think if he can, you know, just play within himself, you know, try to take good shots, I think we'll be fine. I think I'm more interested in, can he like turn up the required energy and effort on defense, right? Because if he's just killing you on defense, then you just can't play him, and you have to just hope that Christian and Peyton can give you enough offensively to get by. Because yeah, if Reggie's like, if he's really struggling on just, you know, guarding bigger players and everybody has to help, then that's going to kind of like wear him down too. So he just can't compound it by then coming down and like trying to make up for it on offense. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do think playing with Jokic will help him though. So hopefully you're right and he sticks in the Jokic minutes, and then I think they should be able to get through it okay.
CT, I'll throw this to you. Do you think we'll see any of the? I mean, it's kind of a long-running thing with Michael Malone. Any like Murray, Reggie minutes? I mean, talking about maybe giving him the opportunity to play better defense, and maybe relieve Jamal of some amount of ball handling duties. Do you think
Mhm.
that could set Reggie up for success in a way that he might not have had that much opportunity to this regular season?
It's possible if LeBron's not on the floor in round one. I just think Murray and Reggie defensively is too poor of a lineup. I think we saw that a lot this year. Even though I do think at times Murray's going to need another guard to set him up, you know, when teams are face guarding him and not letting him get free. I do think maybe, you know, whether that's playing CB, you know, in that lineup sometimes, or letting KCP kind of handle a little more. I think playing Murray off the ball is beneficial. But my thing with Reggie is just I just don't think him and Murray defensively works. I think we saw that a lot this year, where it's just I don't know. It's either like Murray just kind of stands out in the corner and like Reggie's just dribbling the air of the ball, or it's vice versa. You know, Murray's dribbling the air of the ball and Reggie's just standing there. So I just think Reggie's best bet is just playing the 8 minutes without Jokic, or with Jokic. Excuse me. Because that's
Without
really all they're
Jamal
going to
with
play.
Jokic.
Yeah, that's really all he's going to play. I mean, Murray's going to play close to 40 minutes a night, I would assume, unless it's a blowout. But
Yeah. Hopefully we get hopefully we get some like open run for him. Yeah, that would be nice.
Yep.
But I mean, yeah, if you can give like, okay, Reggie, you got 5 to 8 minutes, go cook, and you get me 10 points in 2 games in the series. I think that's a win. You know, I would be really I'd be pretty satisfied with that as a Reggie Jackson experience. Future rounds we'll see, you know, because I think it is going to be tough with that dynamic of getting Jamal off ball, because Christian maybe not is the creator that Reggie is, but Reggie isn't the defender that Christian is. So I don't. There's always going to be some give and take there. It might even depend on the situation and what they are going up against. Austin Reeves, I think in particular, might have a bit of a field day if Reggie Jackson is guarding him. So that might be more of a Christian Brown matchup, and honestly, that might be something that I think the vibes might be a little better if it's like seeing Christian Brown lock up Austin Reeves. I don't know, something about that feels feels right. Um, as we get into the series itself, um, Peter, are you so other adjustments on the other side of that lineup dynamic in the front court? Based on what you saw tonight, especially if you have any thoughts and takeaways from the Pelicans Lakers game that you want to introduce into this conversation, that's also welcome. How do you see the Lakers, and how do you see Denver countering what the Lakers do in their front court with the quote unquote readjustment, if that's what they want to do, or how they're going to guard Jokic, how they're going to handle Anthony Davis?
Um, yeah, I think the Lakers are probably going to guard Jokic with Rui and have AD roam because they just don't want AD to get as tired. Like it's a lot of banging bodies to have him guard Jokic, and then that also kind of takes away his help side shot blocking if he's guarding Jokic. So it's kind of funny, right? Because that always ends up being like the first take style argument is like, if you're that dude, AD, if you're so good on defense, why don't you take Jokic? It's like I get it, but it's not really smart for the Lakers to do that, in my opinion. So I do think that it's going to be one of those series where Jokic is going to have to score a lot because they're going to try to not help. They're going to try to say, Rui, take him straight up. LeBron will guard him some.
Mm-hmm.
Nuggets are going to have to hit shots. AD is one of the better rim protectors in the league, and it's going to be a team effort to beat the Lakers.
Yeah, that's fair. CT, what do you see Aaron Gordon's role being in that dynamic as far as relieving some of that pressure? Obviously, with them having two, like, a man and a half on Jokic, basically, do you think AG is going to be best served kind of playing that short corner, or is this going to be a test of Aaron's ability to space the floor from the 3-point line? Or
Yeah, I think a
both.
little
I
bit
mean,
of
it's
both.
probably both.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think AG in the corner is like most of the time it's not great just because he's not that good of a 3-point shooter, but um, he's also good the dunker spot. You saw that play at the end of the last Lakers game where he had that lob from Jokic to Gordon to kind of seal it.
Mhm.
Kind of like that when Jokic gets a switch. I think Jokic is much better now with kind of beating switches in that way. Um, Especially smaller guys. So he's kind of like learned it better since the Minnesota series last year. Um, but yeah, I mean Gordon defensively obviously just has a big assignment in this series, guarding LeBron, he's gonna guard AD in the small ball center lineups as well with the bench. So I just think defensively he's gonna have like a lot of responsibility. So he's gonna have to be out there. Um, I'd like to see MPJ at the 4 as well. I know that's always been like a big talking point, but if Davis is roaming, I would like to see MPJ out there just to kind of punish that a little more. And I think there's going to be a lineup that Malone kind of goes to at certain points. But yeah, Gordon's going to be important. Just like last year, I think he's going to be important, and his defensive role is obviously pretty large.
Do you see so in that type of situation, Michael Porter at the 4, it's probably Peyton Watson sliding in at the 3. Um, how comfortable are you with Peyton on LeBron?
I actually don't mind it at times when he's switching between um, Davis and LeBron. Like when Gordon and
Mm,
Davis and Gordon and Watson are switching that pick and roll, you can just switch Gordon onto AD and Watson on LeBron. Where I just think Watson he's able to get into LeBron's hand. I think we saw that in one of the games, where I think KCP didn't play, and I think Holiday kind of like sat on the bench, and they played Watson, and Malone played Watson to close the game. I'd have to go back and look at it, but I think that was what happened. Um, I also think too you could play KCP and Brown with MPJ at the 4. I think that's also kind of a lineup you could kind of go to as well. So I just think there's like a couple. I think Malone's got options. You know what I mean? In case things go south, if Gordon is really struggling with from the field.
Peter, do you kind of agree as far as like Peyton being LeBron appropriate, or do you think it's something that's gonna? I mean, there's a little bit of a size difference there, but also I think with LeBron's age, he's not as physical as he used to be. So do you think that is something that's going to be fruitful for Denver? Is that like a win, or do you think that's a win for Los Angeles?
No, I don't think Peyton Watson can guard LeBron James. I think he's gonna back him down every single time if he's guarding him. I hope that Aaron Gordon mirrors LeBron's minutes as best as he can, but Gordon usually sticks with Jokic, who plays the whole first quarter, then breaks and plays the like second half of the second quarter. LeBron does this like two break rotation, right? Where he like comes out middle of first, comes back in. So that second stint, it'll probably have to be Christian Brown or Peyton Watson guarding him. So it's gonna be interesting to see if he goes to work or if he, just is like still kind of trying to play facilitator. Because what was interesting about the game tonight is the Lakers were on fire from three in the first half. That's how they got such a big lead. AD didn't really have a big game. I think he ended with like 18 points because he got quite a few offensive rebounds, but they really weren't playing through Anthony Davis at all. The Lakers were getting big contributions from, D'Angelo Russell is playing with a ton of confidence right now. He was hitting big shots. Gabe Vincent's back. He looked good shooting the three. Torian Prince, obviously, we know is a capable shooter. And Rui hit a big three for them. If Rui's hitting threes, that kind of takes the Lakers up to another level because that's not really like the bread and butter of his game. He's capable, but he's always been kind of more of like a streaky 3-point shooter. So the formula for the Lakers is basically like LeBron's going to get you 30, AD's going to get you 20, 25. Russell can get you 15 to 20. And then the role players have to hit threes. If the role players are hitting threes on top of what I just said, that's kind of their peak. But in the second half, they kind of went ice cold again and let the Pelicans back in the game. So it was kind of a wonky, like ugly game. But I think, as we know, that's kind of normal for like once you get in the playoffs, is like the intensity and the defense gets ratcheted up and it's not always comfortable. So I expect LeBron and AD to be good because they're great players. It's going to come down to like, can the Nuggets do a good job on Reeves and on Russell? And they did last year. So if they're able to replicate their strategy from last year, I think they'll be in good shape.
That's fair. As we kind of get towards the end of the show, I mean, it's kind of some amount of prediction time. So, CT, I want to ask you this. I want to do this for both teams, actually. Would you say that, just considering playoff rotations, so top 7.5 players for Denver, top 7.5 players for Los Angeles, do you feel like LA has improved over last year? And do you feel like Denver has improved over last year?
I think LA has improved their offense. I think their defense is still going to is actually worse. Like they don't have anyone to guard Murray in their starting lineup. Like if you put Rui on Jokic, I mean, who's guarding Murray now? LeBron? Is it Russell or Reeves? I mean, it's not gonna fly.
Oh, CT, I saw something hilarious on Twitter yesterday. Somebody said that Spencer Dinwiddie is taller than Dennis Schroeder. He can guard Murray. I think I quote tweeted it and said Spencer Dinwiddie, defensive stopper.
Yeah, I just think Murray just has a clear advantage in this series, and same with MPJ. You know what I mean? Like if you put Reeves on MPJ, I think MPJ is just going to fire over the top of him. So I think the Lakers offensively are maybe a bit better. Maybe have a little more shooting, but other than that, the defense is going to be bad. I just think Jokic is going to have his way. I think Murray's going to have another series like we saw last year. But yeah, other than that, I mean, just kind of more of the same.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I don't know how much you guys listen to Zach Lowe, but he's basically been saying all year, he's like their best lineup is when they play big with AD, LeBron, and Rui. And I agree with that too. But the Pelicans' best stretches of the game tonight were when they got out and run. because as good as AD is, we kind of know that like one of the sneaky things about Jokic is that he's like in better shape than all the big guys, and he like beats them down the floor. The Pelicans got a lot of good stuff in transition, so I'm really hoping that at least in the home games at altitude, the Nuggets can really try to push the pace and try to get some easy baskets. We still trust their half court offense, and they're not a big push it team. But Ray, I remember us talking about that at the beginning of the year. It was like, let's hope the identity of the bench is at least like play good defense and run. And for the most part, they've done that. So I'm hoping that when LeBron or AD are out of the game, they can get to the basket on the break. But even when they're in the game, making them sprint back, like you have to make LeBron James work. You want him tired in the fourth quarter. You don't want him to be able to just chill
He was gassed tonight.
a little bit.
When he took that charge, the from Zion, he I think he felt his age.
I gotta give
we'd all
props
feel
to
our age.
just randomly, real quick. I gotta give props to Larry Nance though. That guy played his ass off tonight. He's given up like 30 pounds to AD. Played basically the whole fourth quarter. I thought he was great. It wasn't good enough to win, but that guy can play playoff defense, man.
Yeah, I think he's a really valuable player
Sure.
in that context that he's in. And so to talk about Denver a little bit in that same way, Hurricane asks, last year's roster had better players, but do you think the players that remain are better than last year's team? Talking about like the same set, right? Talking about obviously the starters are the same players with a little bit better chemistry. I don't think Aaron's had the same defensive season he did last year, which is okay. He's still really good, and I think that collectively their defense is still intact. But I was also say, is Reggie better than Bruce Brown for the playoffs? He's not. That Bruce had a level of flexibility about him that allowed him to fill a lot of different roles that made him a great sort of sixth starter. So I do feel like it's a downgrade there, but we're talking about Christian Brown and Peyton Watson. Christian is a lot better than he was last year. He's a much better shooter. I think he is as good, if not better, than he was last year from a defensive perspective. And my bias, this is just me, I don't feel like Jeff Green was ever great, but he was always really comfortable being. His ability to be neutral, I think, was really consistent. I'll give him that. But I
He
think
didn't sink
Peyton
us,
just
basically.
yeah, he never sinks you, but also there would be opportunities where he could have an impact where he would just not, where he could grab that rebound where he would just not, where he could dive on the floor where he would just not, where these sorts of things. And I think Peyton, especially with the momentum that he has going to the season, maybe the shots don't fall, maybe he gets a little squirrely with his handle, but I think as long as he's bringing the energy that he's brought all season, I think he's going to make those sorts of impact plays, the blocks, the rebounds, the hustle instances, playing with pace. We're talking about playing with pace and getting the Lakers to getting them sped up. I think that's going to be really valuable. So I think on the whole, I think the Nuggets are even better than they were last year, top to bottom playoff rotation. That's just all right. I'm gonna let you cook, Peter. You disagree, but how do you feel about it?
Well, I just think that Bruce was pretty big in that Lakers series. Um, I'm not saying it means they can't win, but we'll see. I think it is a fair question, though. Like, I will say, I do think another year of the starters being together has made them better collectively. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I just think that continuity has been even better. And now it's like, it's so beautiful as a Nuggets fan to see, like, hey, they're rolling, with this Jokic Murray two-man game or whatever, and then once the opponent adjusts, you see Jokic swing the ball to Porter in the corner, and he just fires it up right away. And it's like we all know what's going in. Obviously it doesn't every single time, but it's just like they've started to really get that like next level chemistry of just like we know what to do and how to beat all these different things. And the trust is just like at an all-time high with the starting five now. and it's just beautiful to watch.
I mean, how about Mike? I feel like Mike is also someone who's taken a step forward. I don't want to. He's shooting as well as he, I think, ever has. It's hard to. He was always a good shooter, so it's hard to be like, oh, he's taking a step forward in that sense. But his comfort putting the ball on the floor, getting to the mid range, I think is big.
Yeah.
I think the fact that, if I have it right, he led the league in mid range field goal percentage this
Best
season.
mid-range shooting in the league.
In a playoff
Shout out Matt
context, I
Brooks.
think that's yeah. In a playoff context, I think that's huge. So I'm pretty happy with the growth from that standpoint. I think Calvin's doing a great job, and he's got more guys on deck, honestly. And I'm interested to see, honestly, who else is he going to bring in? Like, what happens next?
Well,
I mean, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but like, he's on one right now.
well, I wanna bring up one player who we haven't brought up all show. Um, I said at the beginning of the year that I was open to Justin Holiday being good. Justin Holiday is shooting 40% from three-point land this year, guys. He's been a very pleasant surprise. He hasn't played in every game, and yeah, he has some rough stretches, but for the most part, he's been a really good minimum pickup. I think to have a guy that's a minimum player who most people think was washed, he's come in and been very serviceable. And there's been some times when either like somebody was, hurt, or Reggie or Christian or Peyton weren't playing well. Malone's just put him in there and he's been a pro. So I don't know if he's going to be part of the opening night playoff rotation. But if some guy's really struggling, I like that Malone can go play that card, and Justin's not going to be rattled. He's played in the playoffs before, and I think he can give you 8 to 10 solid minutes if you need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
Um,
opposed to Holiday playing in the playoffs. Just he's another wing you could throw out there, and he's a shooter. So, like we said before, if Peyton kind of doesn't figure out the shooting, it's not impacting the game. I think Holiday could kind of step in and be another guy who could throw.
Yeah.
I think he's been fine. Like, I would say even a little bit more than fine. Sometimes he gives enough energy, plays solid defense. To your point,
Yeah.
he's shooting well. So he hasn't played so much this year that I feel like he's going to have that sort of wear and tear on him. So I think that's a good thing as well. I think he's, got enough in the tank for the playoffs.
I think he's been a pretty good finisher too when they close out on on him. His drives to the basket, yeah, it's usually in a transition situation, but I think he's played good IQ, smart basketball for the most part.
Yeah, I feel really good about, honestly, the optionality Denver has. Really, 2 through 4 especially. 1, 5, it's a little shaky. But in that, all those in between guys, I think Denver has found a deep bag of. So I'm really optimistic about that. CT, do you have a prediction as far as just win-loss total for the series?
I'll say 5 this time. Just because I think the Lakers maybe are a bit better than last year. But I don't know. I'm pretty bad at predictions, but we'll see.
Yeah, everything that we're about to say comes with a little knock on wood, etc. But
Yeah.
Peter, do you have any? What's your prediction for the series?
Well, Ray, as you know, I'm extremely superstitious, and I believe last year I didn't make any predictions per round, and I like the way that turned out. So all I'll say is this. I personally would be stunned if LeBron James got swept in back-to-back playoff series. So I'm kind of with CT here, but I'm not going to make an official prediction just because I don't want to be blamed for a worst-case scenario.
They're
I
all
got
going to
no
blame
guts.
Peter on Twitter now.
Sorry, guys.
It's tough. I mean, the Lakers
No
are a
sweep.
better
That's my
team.
prediction. No sweep either way. That's the only prediction I'm making.
I want to say it though.
Oh God,
Say it.
you're gonna go
Say it.
Smuggets on me.
Say it.
No, I'm not a Smuggets guy. I think humility is important. I'm gonna say I think if they go into Los Angeles, it's really about game three. It's really about game three for
Right.
me. If they can go into Los Angeles up 2-0, win that game,
Break
well,
their spirit.
LeBron, I think this is the best scenario for them for the Lakers. I think we've kind of chatted
I
about this on
agree.
Twitter a little bit. When we talk about should they have lost this game? Should they have won this game? I think winning the game is the right thing to do.
Mhm.
That the longer the playoffs go on, the worse LeBron and AD are going to be, and the better
Mhm.
the Nuggets are going to be. Or and
Look, game one's gonna be a battle. LeBron's gonna get 3 days rest now before Saturday, and with the way the first round is set up, because they want to maximize TV, there's not a game every other day. There's sometimes multiple days between games. The Nuggets are going to get a stiff test here. Now, I'm telling you guys, like it might be a short series. It's not going to be an easy series. I would be shocked if this is like a cakewalk for the Nuggets.
so I'm going to say 5 games, but I'm also going to say I think 80 gets posted by AG.
Nice.
Would be
I think
nice.
that's going to be. I can visualize like I can see it like in my mind. The hair flying, his face just like the distraught. It's going to be great. I'm excited. So I think we're all pretty much in agreement around five games plus or minus one, maybe.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm like way more confident in there than it going 6 than it going 4. I'll say that.
Okay. Well, that's fair. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I do think the rest helps them, but I also think the rest helps the Nuggets as well. It helps, especially
Yeah.
Jamal, who will have no one to really slow him down. So I think that'll be interesting. Um, I feel like we haven't really talked about KCP. I know Hurricane mentioned like how he wants to rank Jokic, Gordon, and KCP. I feel like they're all kind of like doing their own thing. It's hard to compare them, but I feel like everyone has a specific job in this one. Where last year Christian didn't really have too much to do on the court, didn't have a great defensive assignment where like this is you. Um, I think he will this year. I think KCP will do a great job on D'Angelo Russell. I don't think he'll have as good of a game as he did tonight, as much as Jose Alvarado did get into his jersey. I think it's a little bit different when you have a little bit more length on him. So, Jokic is the GOAT. So, what else is there? Yeah. Do you guys have any parting shots before we want to close out? Anything you want to touch on?
I think we
Hmm.
covered basically everything.
Yeah, I feel pretty good
Who
about it.
who do you guys think wins the playing game in the East tomorrow? Philly and Miami.
I need Miami to win that game.
Winner goes to New York to play the Knicks. Loser has to play another game, and if they win, gets Boston.
It's tough.
I just
If
can't
I'm a
wait to see
betting man,
Spo game plan to going into Philly. He's going to throw the kitchen sink at. He doesn't. He probably had a problem with it. I know that Jimmy isn't afraid of anybody, but they can't want to play the Celtics in the first round. They know they can beat the Knicks.
if I'm a betting man, which I'm not, but if I was, I would pick Miami.
Okay.
I would pick
Tobias Harris
Miami.
over me. You ever hear that?
I
Tobias
just feel
Harris?
He's like Tobias Harris over me because they signed him over Jimmy.
Yeah,
Oh, right. Yeah.
yeah. I don't.
He's going
I
to
don't
take it
see it.
personally.
It's one game. It's just one game. I think Bam Adebayo is a great defender for anybody, for any big. He can't. He's not. He's going to stop you. But as far as options, They've got all the tools to play with to introduce a lot of. It's just to your point, just whatever they're. I know he's got some stuff cooked up, and it's one game. They're gonna
Can
think
I
there
be
are
a
gonna be some zones.
can I
What's
be a
up?
big hater just for a sec?
Uh,
How amazing would it be if the Heat go in to Philly and win, and then in the second playing game in Philly again, either the Bulls or the Hawks go in to Philly and knock the Sixers out of the playoffs before the playoffs officially start. Can you just imagine like the vitriol and like slander the Sixers would be getting from the media? I mean, obviously that you'll have the Embiid people making excuses, but it's like that would be a disaster of a season.
CTD, I have
Yeah,
some thoughts, but go ahead.
yeah. I mean, the thing with Embiid is just he's going to be able to use they're going to be able to use the injury card now. You know,
Yeah.
he was
And
out for
like,
so long, and it's I don't know how they're going to really salvage that. I do have a suspicion though. I do have a prediction for the summertime. If anyone's wanted to hear it, but I think that if the Clippers go outside in the first round and the Sixers lose, I think Paul George going to Philly. That's
Hmm.
my prediction.
Interesting. I just can't picture Ballmer not wanting to pay him.
I just think Paul George's going to leave. I don't know. I just don't think he wants to be there anymore. Like he
Really?
but
likes
it's
LA,
home.
obviously, but yeah, I don't know. I just think like lineup optionality wise, just think it's not because there was rumors he wanted to go back to the Pacers. So
I
I don't
did hear
know.
that.
That would be cool. I could see that just because it's
Yeah,
like it's where you started. They're kind of on the come up. If you're looking for like credit as far as your legacy and that sort of thing, I think the Pacers are a team that you could quote unquote lead to something and like you would get more credit for that than if the whatever the Clippers do. I think it's going to be like this is Kawhi's team and they have all this star talent and
I mean,
um
guys, there's some fascinating matchups this year in the first round because I'll be honest, I have no idea what's going to happen in that Dallas Clippers series. Like, I think the way the Mavs have been playing lately, Kawhi's got a bulky knee. It all signs point to favoring the Mavericks. I get that. I would pick Dallas, but I just feel like there's a little bit too much of like everybody's in on Dallas right now, and the Clippers are kind of like an afterthought. Let's not forget about like one major elephant in the room here. The Clippers have Ty Lue as their coach. The Mavs have Jason Kidd. That is like a gigantic mismatch, in my opinion. So I think that's gonna be a long series either way.
I'm selling Dallas.
Oh, okay.
I just think the floor. I don't get me wrong. The floor on what Dallas does is so high, but I
Yeah.
don't think the
You gotta
ceiling
beat
is
them.
that high.
The
I just
ceiling
don't
is
think
on
the
the
ceiling
roof.
is the ceiling is not even at the. It's like is it at the
The
rafters?
window.
Like it's there. Luke is very good. Kyrie is very good. I don't think the way they play is particularly complex,
I
and I
agree.
don't think it's that difficult to solve. It's you need talent to solve it. Don't get me wrong, but from like a complexity scenario, like can you do you have a counterpunch? Do you have a counterpunch to the counterpunch? I don't see
Right.
that being a deep thing, and I think the Clippers are uniquely equipped to target a team like Dallas. So is that an upset? I don't know.
Well, no, but Ray,
I
you know
wouldn't
what you
say it's
just
an
made me
upset.
think of? You know what you just made me think of? The Mavs are like the best team at like open run at the rec. You know, like they have like the most
Yeah.
talent, but they're just like winning one on one, or like the best team at Rucker Park. But then like some like high school team comes in with like a coach and just like runs sets against them.
Right. I think that is the kind of dynamic we might see. I don't want to knock Luca. I think he will have a great series, but
You can get television too, though.
and it's also Kyrie, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of tunnel vision involved,
yes.
and the Clippers have a lot of wings. They have a lot of defenders. They have a lot of guys who are going to work hard on their assignments. So Um, yeah, that's the pick I'm taking. About Philly, Philly's never happy.
No.
So it really doesn't matter when the 76ers lose. They're going to be upset. It really doesn't matter um, whether they lose in the play-in or if they lose in the first round or the second. Oh, it doesn't matter. Like unless they win if they go to the finals, I think they'll be satisfied
That'll, yeah, that'll be
because
successful.
that's a step forward. But anything short of that, I think maybe if they have a competitive like 7-game series against the Celtics, they can be like,
Yeah.
we'll only burn down 2 Taco Bells tonight, you know. But
The other
outside
series
of that,
I'm really looking forward to is Suns Wolves. I mean, I think that I got to give the edge to the Suns. I feel like it's a bad matchup for the Wolves, but the Wolves were so
Mm.
good this year. I can't completely count them out either.
it's the spacing.
Yeah,
Man, it's
they
gonna be
just
tough
don't
for
have
them.
much creation after Edwards, so tough one,
Cat trade inbound. Let's go.
probably.
I don't know. That's all I got to say about that. Um, yeah, I think that's most of it. Um, so non-basketball, you think who you think wins this beef, Kendrick or Drake? I'm
I'm always gonna have
discounting everyone besides those two. Rick Ross is
one.
not winning.
I'm always gonna have Kendrick's back. I mean, I know he's like less consistent with the output, but I just feel like he goes for the throat more, I guess. I don't know. I just I can't I can't get it out of my mind like how Pusha T destroyed Drake. I'm still like kind of amazed at how seamlessly Drake came back from that. I mean, yeah, he kind of went into hiding for a while, but
Well,
he
that's
didn't even
because
respond.
his fans don't care. Like, let's be
Right.
honest, his fans.
It's yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
let's
delusional,
be
man. So, I mean,
clear. This is not a real rap beef. This is like a I'm a better rapper than you beef, which is that's just how it is now. And so there's nothing wrong with that. But
He did talk about Kendrick's wife,
well,
which I think it was a mistake. I think that's a mistake on his part. He doesn't have a great track record after talking about people's wives. Just putting it out there.
look, I'll be honest. I am a self-proclaimed Drake hater. Like I like some of his music, but I've just always like he's just always been like corny to me and like kind of weird. Just isn't really my vibe. Um, and I just think that this is gonna sound like pretty mean. It makes perfect sense to me that he's like really good friends with LeBron. You know, they're so
Yo.
self-serving all the time, even if they're doing good things. And Drake just has this like endless need to be like in the spotlight and be talked about, like LeBron.
Mhm.
The minute I knew that Drake was kind of starting to lose it was like I want to say it was less than a year ago, maybe it was a year ago, but he dissed Megan the Stallion, and I was just like, wait a minute, like you're not even in the same circles. Like she's just doing really well on her own. Why do you care? It's like, oh, you're just mad that somebody else is like doing really well in the rap game and like doesn't collab with you or something. Like maybe there's more to the story there, but I was just like, this is weird. Like, why would you diss somebody who has a huge fan base? People that probably like your music. I just thought it was a weird move. I was like, wait, what's
Yeah,
going on
Drake.
here?
Drake, you love huge fan bases. Yeah, I think I think we're all winners, honestly. The fact that it's just
The
happening,
culture.
yeah, the culture is winning. Like I don't want to I feel like the J. Cole response made me sad because I feel like the culture was losing,
Yeah.
honestly, throughout that
yeah, the fact that he
process.
tapped out, it's sad. Sad that he tapped out. Honestly,
So
I
you,
I, I
sorry, real
respect.
quick. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I respect the apology. Like the fact that you made the mistake and you owned up to it. I respect that. Like it's just, but the mistake itself was an L. Like if I'm grading this, if this is a fight, it's like 1, 1, -1. In my
Right.
opinion, go home, Jermaine. You're not in this conversation anymore. I'm sorry. Um, but you're a good guy. He's a good man. Like I don't want to discount that.
So, Ray, the best tweet I've seen about this in the last week, somebody said the last thing that OJ Simpson saw from J. Cole was an apology.
Damn, that's true. Is that true? Does
It's
that line up?
100% true. Yes.
Damn, he really was. He was really dying from cancer and was just like, "Oh, the culture." No, I'm kidding. Uh, but yeah, wow. Well, I'm excited for what happens next. That's all I'll say. I've enjoyed both. Honestly, I think Drake made a very commendable response. Um, yeah, I'm having a good time. Let's see what happens next.
Hey, let's make one last prediction, guys. If the Nuggets go back to the finals, will there be any rappers courtside?
Drake will be there. If the Nuggets win
So-
another championship, Drake is a Nuggets fan for
What?
at least 1 year. For at least one
Oh,
year,
God.
Drake will
Doesn't
be.
he work for the Raptors?
Yeah, he's like a
He's like
practice facility for them.
Like you
Team
know his
ambassador.
motion, okay? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he likes he
I
like
know
look,
he's friends with
enjoys-
Jamal.
That's all he needs. I think that's it.
Oh wait, Ray, we're probably too long for this, but do we need
It
to
is-
make
it
any
is.
comments on MPJ and his podcasts, or is that for a summertime topic?
That's a
I just hope it
summertime
doesn't
topic.
distract him. Okay.
I'm gonna let it. All I'm saying. Well, it's like 12:30 for CT, so we should let him sleep.
Yeah.
But I appreciate his work. He has brought some interesting people who I never thought I would watch interviews with on
You can say
to
that
the
again.
podcast space. Especially Jokic, that was great. I really enjoyed that. Jokic doesn't do interviews. And I really appreciate that. He was able to. Jokic is great. Anytime I see Jokic, it's nice. So, whoever else he brings on, that's gravy. Honestly.
Oh, I got some breaking news. The Kings have defeated the Warriors. So it's going to be Kings
over.
Pelicans.
Damn.
Wow.
Dynasty's done.
Damn. Like the
Oh
beam.
man.
Ooh, that sucks for them.
Well,
I mean, for the Warriors.
that sucks for
that's tough.
that guarantees
For
that
Steph.
Oklahoma City will be in the NBA TV series now.
And they wasted a good Draymond Green shooting year. That's crazy.
Right?
He's gonna
Man.
shoot like 15% from three next year. It's gonna be
I'm
terrible.
happy for Kings fans. They've had a tough end of the season. I'm glad they at least get this win over the Warriors to knock them out. That's cool for them.
Yeah, that's like there would be some years where like the Ravens and the Steelers have no chance, neither of them. But that wild card game,
hmm
it's like our Super Bowl, so I feel that. But yeah, this has been a great time. I've really enjoyed chatting with you both, and I appreciate everyone who showed up to the show to watch, to comment. You are the realist, especially if you made it this far. If you want to follow us online, you can find me again at Ravon Hagshaw, Peter at Buckins88, CT at CTFazio24. Definitely shout him out, give him a look. He's got a great new shiny profile picture. It's really nice. And yeah, keep an eye out for
Thank you.
anything that we might be dropping in the future. I know CT writes. You might see a few bowling TikToks from me. We'll see. Might have some plans for the summer. But yeah, have a great night. And as always, go Nuggets. Should end the stream.
Nuggets.